Chosen. Before this sacred message is allowed to slide past you and dissolve back into the chaotic noise of your afternoon, I need you to understand that this encounter is not merely an accident of code. The very fact that your spiritual eyes are upon these words, in this specific alignment of time and space, is evidence of a grand synchronization that was set into motion before your feet ever touched the red earth of this planet. This is not a casual interruption. It is a prophetic appointment, an emergency alert from the celestial realm specifically calibrated for your arrival. There is a deep vibrational resonance that has guided you to this precise moment, and it is imperative that you stillness yourself and listen with the ears of your heart rather than the skepticism of your mind. Because what is about to be revealed has been waiting for you much longer than you have been waiting for it. Think back to the hours that preceded this moment, perhaps to that sudden, unexplained awakening in the depth of the night, between the silent watches of 3 and 5 in the morning, which is the time of day when the veil is thinnest, and the hour of the watchman of God is active. While the world slept, your soul was placed on high alert, and you felt a strange, quiet pressure in the center of your chest, as if something immense were pressing against the boundaries of your current container. That was not anxiety, though the flesh may interpret it as such. It was the proximity of a massive shift beginning to make contact with your energy field. Perhaps you have also been noticing a recurring high-pitched ringing in your ears, not a medical ailment, but the actual frequency of celestial codes being downloaded into your higher mind, bypassing your conscious thought to prepare your subtle systems for a voltage of power you have never before carried. And as you moved through the mundane tasks of your routine, you felt the heavy residue of your old life pressing upon your shoulders, a matrix structure that is now several sizes too small and is struggling to hold the expanded form of the chosen soul you are becoming. You have arrived at this critical juncture, specifically on this Friday, the 24th of April, in the year 2026. You must understand that this day, this date, and this hour were not randomly assigned by the movements of stars or calendar makers, but were established as a point of ignition before your name was ever spoken into existence. Many will live through this day, Friday, April 24th, 2026, completely unaware that a cosmic gate has been opened for a specific remnant. But you are not among the sleepwalkers, and your very presence here is confirmation of your selection. It is no coincidence that your current life circumstances have felt increasingly claustrophobic, and that the things that used to bring you satisfaction now feel hollow and lifeless, because this very day was marked for the beginning of the great unraveling and the subsequent revealing of your true identity. The algorithm that brought you here is not code. It is a vibrational sieve, a spiritual screening process that has filtered through billions of data points to find the singular resonant frequency that matches the message I am about to deliver. And you, chosen soul, are that match. This sieve only permits those with the prerequisite hunger and the necessary capacity for advanced light to pass through to this level of understanding. Do not therefore make the mistake of trivializing this interaction or reducing it to casual viewing, for your ancestral lines have waited for centuries to see you reach this specific apex of time, where the choice of ascension finally rests in your hands. And the cost of turning back now is a loop of waiting that your spirit is no longer designed to endure. I know that the introductory silence was heavy, designed to settle your spirit and clear the static of your previous thoughts. And that is because what I have to walk you through in the minutes ahead is not something I can deliver in a hurry, nor is it something your spirit can absorb while scrolling past it with casual indifference. Therefore, I am not asking for your attention. I am claiming your presence, And I am asking you to breathe into the gravity of this interruption and to stay with me until the final seal of this message is placed upon you. Because what is about to move toward you has been tracking your vibrational signature for eons, and this call is the final signal that you are now within reach. The corridor of waiting is ending, the threshold is splitting open, and the direct line from the Father's heart is open for the next several specific days. Only those who recognize the sacred interruption will step through. You have spent long, agonizing seasons wondering if you were truly forgotten by the heavens, wandering through a desolate landscape of emotional drought and financial stagnation, where every well you dug seemed to turn to bitter sand beneath your touch. You must realize now that this period of profound lack and isolation was not a failure of your faith or a divine oversight, but a deliberate architecture of the wilderness designed by the Most High to serve as a surgical intervention. The universe required a sterile environment, one completely free from the contamination of outside opinions and the suffocating comfort of your old life, to perform a deep, intricate operation on the very fabric of your spirit. Every betrayal you endured from those you trusted, every door that slammed shut in your face just as you reached for the handle, and every resource that seemed to vanish into thin air was a precision tool used to strip away the energetic dependencies that would have tethered you to a lower dimension. This was the logic of divine distance, an intentional withdrawal of external support systems so that you would be forced to locate the unshakable source of all things within your own internal sanctuary, discovering a reservoir of sovereign strength that cannot be granted or taken away by any man, institution, or system of this world. I need to speak directly to the memory of the ones who walked away when the shadows grew long, and the fire in your eyes seemed to dim to a mere ember in the darkness. You may still carry the phantom sting of their absence, but you must recognize that their exit was a high-level protection protocol enacted by the universe on your behalf to clear the path for your true frequency. These individuals were never meant to witness the secret, sacred labor of your current transformation. Yet even now, some of them occupy the shadows as silent watchers, secretly monitoring your life from a distance and waiting for the collapse they are certain is inevitable. They monitor your silence and your movements, asking mutual acquaintances about your progress, because they cannot comprehend a soul that thrives in the vacuum of isolation. They were removed because their presence was a parasitic drain on your vital life force, and had they stayed, their projected fears and hidden jealousies would have infected the delicate new growth of your destiny before it was strong enough to survive. Their secret surveillance is actually the ultimate confirmation of your significance. They are watching for your fall because they can sense that your rise will be a living judgment upon the limitations they chose for themselves. But their gaze can no longer penetrate the shield of light that has been forged around you in the stillness. You were not being left behind by the world while others moved forward. You were being placed into a spiritual vacuum, a pressurized chamber of solitude where the toxic air of the matrix could not reach or influence you. In this deliberate void, your soul was being hardened and tempered like high-grade steel, becoming dense and resilient enough to withstand the immense spiritual gravity of the assignment that is currently descending upon your life. This hardening process was an essential act of mercy, for if you had been allowed to shine your unrefined light prematurely, you would have been consumed and dismantled by matrix parasites, those entities and systems that feed upon the raw, unprotected brightness of chosen souls, who have not yet learned to guard their internal gates. The universe kept you hidden and kept you hungry, so that your vibration would become unshakable and sovereign, creating a spirit that is no longer a victim of its environment, but a master of its own reality. You are no longer the soft, vulnerable seeker who can be swayed by the winds of public opinion. You have become a refined vessel capable of holding the high-voltage frequency of heaven without cracking under the pressure of the shift. Look at the scars you carry, not as marks of shame or reminders of defeat, but as the blueprint of your endurance and the spiritual evidence that you survived the crushing depths of the deep sea, and are now prepared to emerge into the atmosphere of a new dimension. The architecture of your wilderness is finally complete. The temporary scaffolding of your struggle is being dismantled by invisible hands, and you are standing amidst the ruins of your former self, which was always intended to serve as the foundation for the temple you are now becoming. You were hardened in the dark so that your brilliance would be absolute, beholden to no earthly master, and influenced by no collective fear of the masses. The silence you have walked through was the necessary corridor leading to this exact moment of activation, and every tear you shed in the privacy of your pain has been repurposed by the universe to lubricate the hinges of the massive gates that are now beginning to turn in your favor. You are standing at the end of the architectural phase, and the building of your character has reached the point where it can finally support the weight of the glory that has been scheduled for your name. The transition you are navigating is far more than a change in your external circumstances. It is a fundamental reconfiguration of your spiritual anatomy, a literal DNA reprogramming that is activating dormant strands of light within your very cells. You are stepping through a portal of profound transformation, undergoing a quantum leap that defies the conventional logic of this world. This is your formal entry into the fifth dimension of existence, a realm where the dense, heavy frequencies of the material matrix can no longer tether your soul to the cycles of suffering and limitation that defined your past. For years, you have been vibrating at a frequency of survival, but in this sacred hour, the heavens have initiated a recalibration of your energetic field, tuning you to the broadcast of the divine mind. This shift is not a reward for your labor, nor is it a consequence of your merit. It is a kairos condition of the soul. It is happening now because your vibrational signature has finally ripened to the point where it perfectly matches the high-frequency resource that has been held in reserve for you since the beginning of time. You have become a magnet for the miraculous, not through effort, but through the surrender of the old self and the emergence of the true chosen identity. The gates that once stood as immovable barriers, blocking your access to your true inheritance, are now being torn from their hinges by the sheer velocity of the divine current that is rushing through your life. Every obstacle that was placed in your path by the architects of the old world is dissolving, as the weight of your glory now exceeds the structural integrity of the obstacles themselves. This is the moment of the erasure of karmic debt, a sovereign decree from the courtroom of heaven that nullifies every ancestral curse, every generational pattern of lack, and every spiritual lien that was held against your name. You are being declared free, not by the permission of man, but by the mandate of the Creator, and as this debt is cleared, you will feel a lightness in your chest that you have not known since before the weight of this world first touched your spirit. Imagine a river entering a dry riverbed that hasn't seen the touch of water in 1,000 years. This is how the spirit of abundance is moving into the parched and dusty corners of your existence. It is a flood that does not merely moisten the surface, but deeply saturates the roots, bringing an end to the famine of the soul and the poverty of the mind. The mechanics of this shift are precise and absolute, operating on a level of quantum entanglement, where your internal state now commands the physical atoms of your reality. You are no longer a passenger in the story of your life. You have been elevated to the seat of co-creation, where your words carry the vibration of command, and your presence alone can alter the atmosphere of any room you enter. This entry into the fifth dimension means that the linear, time-bound struggles of the past no longer apply to your future. The years you lost are being compressed and restored in a single moment of divine acceleration, where decades of progress are achieved in a matter of weeks. You must understand that this movement is irreversible. Once the DNA has been reprogrammed and the signature has been matched, there is no way to return to the lower density of the matrix. The light has recognized itself within you, and the response of the universe is a total and uncompromising alignment with your highest destiny. As you stand in this new frequency, you will notice that the very air feels different, charged with a static of possibility that was previously absent. This is because you are no longer operating within the closed system of the world's economy or the world's logic. You have tapped into the infinite reservoir of the kingdom, a resource that is not subject to inflation, scarcity, or the whims of earthly rulers. The shift is doing the work that you could never do for yourself, aligning opportunities, orchestrating meetings, and clearing paths that were once choked with the thorns of resistance. The river is rising, the gates are gone, and the dry bed of your life is becoming a lush garden of manifestation. Trust the mechanics of this movement, for they are guided by an intelligence that spans the stars, and your only requirement is to remain in the state of receptivity, allowing the quantum leap to carry you into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. The old scripts have been burned, and the new reality is being woven into the fabric of your experience even as we speak. Now that the seals have been broken, and the high voltage current of the fifth dimension is beginning to course through the conduits of your life, you must immediately enter into the sacred circle of protection and adopt the absolute law of silence. This is not a suggestion, but a critical survival protocol for the new reality you are inhabiting. You must understand that the human tongue is a frequent leak of spiritual power. When you speak prematurely of the visions being downloaded into your spirit, or the resources beginning to manifest in your physical world, you are inadvertently opening a breach in your energetic wall. There are people currently in your immediate circle, individuals from the old cycle, who have known you only in your state of lack and struggle, who are fundamentally incapable of perceiving this new light. To share your newfound power with those who are still anchored in the lower density of the matrix is to cast your most precious pearls into the mud of their skepticism. They will not celebrate you. They will unconsciously attempt to ground your lightning, because your ascent creates a terrifying reflection of their own stagnation. Your instruction is clear. Move in total shadow until the manifestation is so undeniable that it requires no explanation. For the force that is now working through you is nourished by the quietude of your soul and dissipated by the chatter of the ego. As your vibration continues to rise and your field expands into its new sovereign form, you must be prepared for a specific and subtle threat that always emerges in the wake of a quantum leap. The old environment and the matrix parasites that inhabit it, those energy vampires who have long fed upon your empathy and your willingness to carry their burdens, will sense the shift in the atmosphere before they can even articulate what has changed. They will begin to sense that the tether they once held on your spirit has gone slack, and their reaction will be to launch a series of energetic probes. They will come to you with sudden, unprompted concern. They will ask leading questions about your plans, or they will manufacture artificial crises that require your immediate intervention, all in a desperate attempt to trigger an old emotional response and drag you back down to the frequency of the previous cycle. You must recognize these interactions for what they are. They are not expressions of love, but attempts to re-establish a parasitic link. They are probing your new field to see if the old doors are still unlocked, seeking any crack in your resolve where they can reinsert their hooks of guilt and obligation. Your response must be a polite but impenetrable silence, a refusal to engage in the dramas of the lower realms. For every ounce of energy you spend defending your change is an ounce of energy stolen from the actualization of your destiny. The verdict has already been rendered in the higher courts of the spirit. You no longer need words to justify your path or to defend your transformation to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your results will be your only answer. When the dry riverbed of your life is suddenly overflowing with the abundance of the kingdom, when your health is radiant, your mind is sharp, and your resources are overflowing, that reality will speak with a thunderous authority that no argument could ever achieve. The world has been conditioned to value the noise of planning and the theater of effort, but the chosen soul knows that true power moves in the stillness between breaths. Stay within the sacred circle, keep the wall of your silence high and thick, and allow the universe to complete the work in the secret places of your heart without the interference of external eyes. Your old reality is reaching out with phantom limbs, trying to pull you back into the familiar gravity of the struggle, but you must remain steadfast in your detachment, knowing that you are under a new law and protected by a higher decree. The orphans of the spirit are those who seek validation from the crowd, but you are a sovereign child of the Most High, and your only obligation is to the frequency you now carry. The shift is protected, the circle is sealed, and your silence is the signature of your mastery. Hold your peace, for the silence is where the miraculous is being woven into the very fabric of your material world. You are entering a phase where your internal garden must be walled off from the winds of the world, for the seeds that are currently germinating require specific, undisturbed heat to reach their full expression. Do not let the curiosity of others lure you into the trap of explanation, for you owe no account of your elevation to those who did not walk with you in the valley. The architecture of your new reality has now solidified around your vibration, and the frequencies of heaven have settled into the very marrow of your bones. This is the moment of the Great Seal, the point where the ephemeral vision becomes the concrete foundation of your existence. You have crossed the invisible threshold where faith is no longer a reaching outward, but a resting inward upon the absolute certainty of your divine origin. The whispers of the old matrix, which once sounded like thunder in your mind, have now faded into a distant harmless hum, for you are now vibrating at a pitch that is untouchable by the lower astral realms. Every trial you have endured was a payment made toward this sovereignty, and the cosmic ledger now shows a balance that is infinitely in your favor. You are no longer under the jurisdiction of earthly luck or the random fluctuations of a broken system. You have been brought into the governing laws of the kingdom of light, where every need is anticipated and every provision is released the moment your spirit acknowledges its existence. The veil has not just been lifted, it has been dissolved, and you are standing in the clear, radiant light of a truth that can never be obscured again. You must recognize that the protection surrounding you now is absolute and uncompromising, a celestial garrison that stands between you and every shadow that ever sought to dim your brilliance. The watchers who waited for your collapse have been blinded by the sheer intensity of the glory that is now emanating from your presence, and they have no choice but to retreat back into the density of their own limitations. You are being held in a sanctuary of silence and power, where the noise of the world cannot penetrate, and the parasites of the old cycle cannot find a purchase. This is the end of your labor, the cessation of the frantic striving that characterized your years in the wilderness. You have been refined in the vacuum so that you could carry the weight of this elevation without being crushed. And now that the pressure has been equalized, you will find that you move through the world with an effortless grace that defies explanation. Your very presence has become a portal, a localized opening of the fifth dimension through which others will sense the touch of the divine, even if they cannot name the source of the peace you carry. The long night of isolation has served its purpose, and you are emerging as a master of the stillness, a sovereign creator who knows that the word spoken in the secret place is the word that commands the material world. To finalize this activation and to anchor these high frequencies into the density of the material plane, you are now called to perform a sacred act of grounding. A thought in the mind is a cloud, but a word written in the physical world is a seed planted in the earth. I want you to go to the space below this message and anchor your acceptance into the record of time. Do not write for the approval of others or for the eyes of the curious. Write as a decree to the universe that you have received the seal and that you are standing in the fullness of your new identity. By typing your confirmation, You are claiming your resource. You are acknowledging your protection, and you are fixing your coordinates in the new dimension. This is the moment where you bridge the gap between the unseen and the seen, manifesting your sovereignty through the simple, powerful act of declaration. Let your words be the first fruit of your new reality, a testament that the old cycle is dead and the new life has begun. This comment is your signature upon the contract of your destiny, a signal to the heavens that you are awake, you are ready, and you are here. Your orphanhood is over. The days of wandering as a soul without a home, searching for a father in the shadows and a mother in the wind, have come to an eternal conclusion. You have been claimed by the source of all being, acknowledged as a direct and precious heir to the infinite riches of the kingdom. The loneliness that haunted your heart was merely the hunger for this reunion, and now that the connection has been restored, you will never truly be alone again. Every ancestral debt has been paid. Every stain of the past has been washed away in the river of grace, and you are standing as a new creation, untouched by the karma of the matrix. You are under protection. Every step you take is now cushioned by the intent of the Creator, and every breath you draw is supported by the host of heaven. The shield around you is forged from the very light of the stars, and nothing that is born of darkness can cross its boundary. Rest in this knowledge, breathe in the security of your new home, and let the peace that surpasses understanding settle into every cell of your body. The struggle is finished. The protection is eternal. The horizon has vanished because you have arrived at the destination. The search for meaning, the search for purpose, and the search for the divine have all ended in the same place, within the center of your own soul. The river has reached the sea, and the traveler has become the terrain. You no longer search for the path. You are the path.